Hey, and welcome back to my channel. And I am feeling this day, guys. Granted, this room that I'm in is a hot mess because I have a two-year-old who totally ransacked it. But I was like, you know what? I just got out of the shower. I have this inspirational video that I want to share, and it's been my content all week. And it's about gratitude and obligation. So I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna do it. I didn't even do my hair or makeup, but it's fine, it's whatever. So I've actually been sick all week. Before I get started, if you can tell, my voice is so much deeper than it normally is. I've been ill, and it is what it is, and I'm finally feeling more pep in my step and finally getting better. But I just wanted to take this time and talk to you guys about the feeling of obligation and gratitude. And if you follow me on Instagram or on Facebook, you'll see that I also posted these in little bullet points on in my little, Canva box, whatever. So, but it talks about this one situation that I think every single one of us experienced, or a lot of us experienced as kids. And we're at the dinner table and we're not hungry. And our parents say, you better eat everything that's on that plate, child, because you know that there are starving children in China, in Africa, all over the world who don't get to have a dinner like you do. To make us feel guilty to decide that we need to eat all of our food, because otherwise we're saying we're ungrateful. And I was raised like that. I don't think our parents had these negative or ill intentions in sharing that and telling us that, but I think what this has done has had a negative side effect of choosing to eat out of obligation rather than out of gratitude and out of being truly hungry. And while, there are starving children all over the world, the reality is the food that I eat on my plate is not going to change the fact that there are starving children around the world. It's just not. And I think that we were put pressure on us that, well, I need to be grateful. I need to show that I'm grateful. So I need to eat everything on my plate to show that I'm grateful. And you know what's crazy is some cultures that actually means that eating everything on your plate means that you're grateful for your food. But then there's some other cultures where it's actually the opposite. They think that you not leaving anything on your plate shows a sign of ingratitude, meaning you didn't appreciate it and you felt like you needed to eat it all. And it actually can have the exact opposite effect. So there's a cultural reason why we have this, but then there's also another culture that does the exact opposite. So what's the solution? Follow your own body, okay? And for me, I enjoy eating all the food on my plate, right? So now when I make myself a plate of food, I look, okay, I'm going to eat all of this and then reevaluate how much I need to eat, okay? So when I look at this plate of food that might be my breakfast, I'm hungry, I'm like, wow, this looks delicious. And I'm grateful for the food I eat. I don't feel obligated to eat it all. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to decide to eat all of this and figure out if I need more later. Eat it all, give myself a second, enjoy the company I'm with, and if I need more, I'll get myself half of that serving. So whatever I had before, I'll now fill up my plate with half of it. And then I'll reevaluate. I'm going to eat this. And then if I'm going to wait a little bit longer next time if I need to have another plate of food. Generally, I don't. I don't generally even need a second plate of food, but sometimes if it's been all day and I'm eating off of a small plate, I might want two plates. And so I look at it, I'm going to eat all this food, and we'll see how I feel afterwards. I evaluate, I eat, I evaluate, I'm good. Sometimes it doesn't even get to the second plate, right? But when it comes to this feeling of obligation, it's not about how we feel. It's not about what's on our plate. It's about, I better eat this, otherwise I'm saying I'm being rude, right? We're more concerned about how we communicate to another person rather than meeting our body's needs. And I think that that's a culture shift that needs to take place here in America, especially. That we need to let go of other people's expectation of us and focus on what our body is talking to us, because that's what's most important at the end of the day. At the end of the day, if you run into somebody in their culture where they need to be eating with you, then I think you should have a conversation about it. Have a really great conversation on culture and about how that's not something you're trying to do. You want to break that kind of culture. You're trying to break the idea that you need to eat when you're at Starbucks. Granted, that's another thing. Like when we go to a restaurant to go do homework, I remember doing this in college. I felt like I was like, well, I'm keto at this time, right? So I would order so much keto food, and then I'm like, why didn't I lose weight the next day? I still ate my right carb amounts because I still ate way too much food, and then I spent way too much money at Starbucks. And there's a difference between going in there with a cup of water. Honestly, if you don't even buy anything, people at Starbucks aren't going to say anything, right? They don't really care. So here you're at Starbucks, but then you feel this obligation that you need to buy food. I used to do this all the stinking time. And I spent so much money doing this. And I look back and I see how silly my mindset was, that I was more concerned about what other people thought versus doing what my body was asking for. My body was not asking for food. In fact, I ate before then, so I wouldn't want to get food. But it turns out it wasn't a matter of being hungry or not. It was a matter of feeling obligated. And obligation is it's a frustrating emotion, because it feeds into our love hormone. I feel like our love feeling, because we love people and we care about what people think, right? But then it also feeds into this idea that if I don't do what they want, I'm not worth it. My body's cues are not worth this situation, and I need to sacrifice myself for somebody else. And I want to encourage you to sit with this feeling of obligation, because obligation can be a dangerous emotion. It can lead us down some paths that end up being very toxic. And you know what's interesting is I've been thinking about obligation all week, and I don't know if it's because I've been taking NyQuil at night because I've been sick and I am coughing. My husband, he's like, you need to take NyQuil, please, because you're keeping me up. So I'm like, oh, and I'm not sleeping, so I'm gonna go take NyQuil. So it gives me some weird dreams, but then I like to research my dreams when I remember them. I don't know if you're like that. I totally do that all the time. But anyway, so I had this dream of a snake. And this snake wanted to attack a little girl, but it couldn't attack a little girl. And then I looked closer at that little girl, and that little girl was me. It was like legit me when I was a little girl. And the snake wanted to attack me, but it couldn't, so it was driving me to attack myself. It was so weird. I was like, I thought it was my cousin because it looked like my cousin, but you know what? My little cousin, who is around 7 or 8, kind of looked like me when I was a little girl. So I was like, that's why I thought it was my cousin, but I realized that was me as a little girl. And I woke up like, what is this dream? This is so weird. So I researched a snake wanting to attack me in a dream. And it says that snakes can represent toxicity. And I think about how it wanted to attack me, but it couldn't. So it was driving me to attack myself. And that's what obligation is. You know, it feels like it's out of love. You know, you think, but it's so deceitful. Obligation is not out of love. It's out of self-hate. It's out of letting go of your self-worth. Like that's where our thoughts can go. And feeling obligated, while it's just an emotion and it has a physical feeling, it can lead us down some really dark paths. And so I hope that inspires you guys when it comes to choosing obligation versus gratitude. And gratitude, we think that like, again, it's deceitful, and it even can look like gratitude. We're showing our gratefulness by doing this, by doing that. And that's not at all what it's supposed to be. And being grateful is saying, you know what? I am so grateful for this food. I'm going to eat as much as my body needs. And if there's more left over, I'm going to take it home. But then, like the idea that I shared in the beginning of this video about, there's starving children all around the world, I'm going to include, and I hope I hope to find a solution that ends world hunger, where no one has to be in need. And that does more for children around the world who do not have food daily, right? This idea of this concept of being grateful because other people aren't as privileged. It's praying. It's finding solutions to the real problem. That's living out of gratitude. Obligation is like this idea we do something else that's somehow going to help somebody else, but it's not. And then we get to forget about it later because we did our duty. And it's a facade. It's not real. And it helps nobody, not even yourself. It's a lose-lose scenario. So anyway, guys, choose gratitude over obligation. I'll see you next time.